Well, good evening, Michael. No verdict yet in the case against Jennifer Crumbley. The jurors deliberated for nearly 7 hours today, and then the judge sent them home and told them to return tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Let's take a look at the juror makeup. These are the jurors that are deciding this case. We have 6 women in this case and 6 men. The ages range from the early 20s to the early 70s. Now, during the day today, as they deliberated, they did have 2 different questions. The first one was in regard to the theories by the state and whether or not the theories, one, had to support the other. So the judge said to them, take a look at the jury instructions for guidance. The second question was a lot of insight into this case and wondering from the jurors if they can infer anything from the evidence the state did not present in this case, specifically the fact that the state did not call Ethan Crumbley to the stand to talk about how he got his hands on the gun. The judge said to the jurors, brought them into the courtroom and said you cannot infer anything from that. Let's listen to some of the closing arguments in this case.
We actually saw the last day he was practicing to kill 4 of his classmates. And there was only one person with him, ladies and gentlemen, and her name is Jennifer Crumbley. And I want you to remember that video. And I want you to remember the look on his face when that target comes back in and he looks at it and he's smiling.
This case is a very dangerous one for parents out there. It just is. And it is one of the first of its kind. Luckily, however, this is a case where the prosecution cannot meet its burden of proof. And thankfully, it's a case where truly Mrs. Crumbley does have a defense.
And Jennifer Crumbley took the stand in her own defense. Let's listen to some of her cross-examination.
Now, the one thing that seemed consistent with your son, to you at least, is his desire to obtain a weapon. Is that right?
I wouldn't say that, no.
He had a consistent desire to obtain a weapon.
Not to me, he did not.
Okay. You didn't know about the 9mm?
Oh, I knew about it.
Okay. You didn't know about the 22s?
I knew about them.
And in fact, you posted on Instagram that he got himself a 22.
Correct.
In June of 2021.
Correct.
And from that time up until the November 26, 21 purchase, he was wanting to get a 9mm.
I know him and my husband had discussed getting a 9mm. I'm not part of those conversations.
But you knew about it.
I knew, but not that he was so, however you described it.
I said he consistently had a desire to obtain a weapon.
I know they consistently talked about it, correct.
Okay.
And after this long day of deliberations, the judge did release some of the alternates. The rest of the jurors will be back tomorrow morning at 9. That's the latest from here in Pontiac, Michigan. Michael, we'll send it back to you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Truly appreciate it. All right, folks, let's bring in our guest. Joining us to discuss this hour, criminal defense attorney Jeffrey Wolf and retired DEA Special Agent Ted Golden. Thank you again, gentlemen, for joining me tonight. Truly appreciate it. And Jeffrey, I'll start with you, and we'll start in Michigan. Interesting questions today, but I want to focus on one particular question. They asked the court, what could they infer anything from the fact that they didn't hear from any other witnesses by the state about how he got his hands on the gun? It got me thinking, Jeffrey, what if the judge had allowed, now again, if you want to comment on this as well, the fact that she didn't allow Ethan to come in and testify, his attorney said they didn't want him to, he would have taken the 5th. I thought that might have been effective anyway for the defense, but at the end of the day, he didn't testify. But what if he did? What if he got on the stand and said, look, the gun was there, I picked the lock, or I got it out in some way that suggested that they had locked it up, and my parents didn't know anything about it. Sounds to me like that would have been something very important to this trial.
Yeah, it absolutely would have been. If he had taken the stand and said something along those lines, I think the jury would have been able to infer from that there was less culpability for his mother or no culpability, potentially. But if he's going to take the 5th, you can't put him on the stand just to take the 5th. That's not ethical to do. And so once it's clear that he's not going to testify in a meaningful way other than taking the 5th, then his testimony is precluded, and his testimony is precluded under a constitutional basis that he has the right to take the fifth. And so, no, you can't infer anything from him taking the fifth. So the judge made the right ruling here. And obviously, it's important that the jury is wondering that. It shows their thought process and what they're trying to figure out back in the jury room. But the judge made the right ruling.
All right, fair enough. And Ted, I want to piggyback on that by saying, if in fact it does go to, let's say he had testified and it goes to the culpability of the parents, what this defendant did on the stand is she said, look, I didn't have responsibility for locking up the gun. It was my husband's responsibility. She consistently said he was the one having conversations about the guns. He was the one that was interested in all of that with my son, not me. Does that lessen her culpability in this case?
No. As a parent of an underage child with a firearm in the house, you have a responsibility, a moral responsibility especially, to secure the weapon. And you can't push it off on somebody else because she had access. I think she even went to the range with him with the gun. So she'd already done some overt things to show that she condoned him handling the gun. Now, if she somehow withdrew from the conspiracy and said, I don't have anything to do with the gun, I went to the police and told them I don't have anything to do with the gun, then she's okay. But when she has knowledge, just the fact that she has knowledge is sufficient enough to come to the conclusion that she had control of the weapon.
Yeah, she not only had knowledge, Ted, on social media, she celebrated it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I think that's problematic for her as well.